why I'm making all this, why I'm doing. Look, my father's already dead, so you know it isn't like you're going to get somewhere. You might get somewhere with Jay, but Jay is the nicest guy you could ever meet. Jay knows me really well because he went to our church. He's Christian, and he has children, and everybody in my church knows Jay, and everybody in my church of my youth knows my father. So if you are planning some scheme to really get me, 'cause when I name drop, you will probably have a better chance of doing it with Brad Carvey because we don't really know each other all that well. I know Jay. I know Jay so much better than any celebrity would ever know me. And Jay's a great guy. Actually, and if I was brought into court, I have a lot of things I could say about Jay. So you'll never be able to dig up the amount of stuff I know about Jay. You would have to do some. You would have to give me truth serum to really get me to divulge stuff about guys like that. But these are administrative people in in the lab, and this is not top secret. This is just the way they separate up the lab. There's an X division, and what does X division do? Explosives. It's the science of explosives. The guy that taught me, and this guy's probably dead by now because he was pretty old when he was teaching me. A guy by the name of John Lilly. Fantastic attitude. Taught me Fortran. I fucking hated Fortran. There are a lot of physicists out there that love Fortran. Formulas is translation, which is where the name comes from. And the reason why is because there's when you make a language like Fortran, there's certain things you take into account in making the language that make it easier for the physicists to translate their formulas they've got into a program that they're going to be able to use to do calculus style type um, type operations that they don't want to try to do with the symbolic calculus that they're going to do with making a for loop do a bunch of summations to say find the volume of some cavity that they're trying to use in one of their experiments, and they're trying to come up with how much pressure per inch is going to be in that if they fill it with a certain liquid or something. That was the Fortran. And John Lilly, he was part of X Division. And what was his expertise? And he told this to the class, so it wasn't top secret, it wasn't classified. The shape of an explosion. There are people who there's a science in determining the shape of an explosion, how things are destroyed, calculated and with precision in such a way that only certain things are affected. Shaped charges that blow up in a certain way. That was, and he taught me Fortran. These are some of the people in the Los Alamos labs, because when you go to the university, I went to UNM and UNMLA, the branch of UNM that was over there to permit the scientists to come over and bring in, and there's foreigners that come in there and that they're in there to really kind of learn to be um, Los Alamos quality level physicists, take it back with them to Switzerland. And I knew these people out there. Hello, I'm gonna, and I had Gabriella Sisu. You, I don't really know how to spell her last name. I love you. I so wanted to like get married, but you wouldn't let me. Beautiful girl. And her friend who was from Switzerland with the blonde hair and braided blonde hair. And I there's a pornographic level of my imagination if they're watching this. Sure hope hell not. A level that I was just imagining we'd get in some kind of massive orgy. That's my dirty side of my mind talking, that imagining these orgies that I might get involved with just by having access to women. Not that I know how to do an orgy. I'm not a slut. There's edgers. I'm an edger. I'm not a slut. A slut is a person who is, this is my theory, is that they're so socially bound in their dignity, and their self-confidence is so, actually they don't have any they don't have any self-esteem whatsoever. It's that song that she has so no self, that I have no self-esteem. The Outcast guy sung about, she, it happens more than I like to admit. I lost my nerve, but it's kind of hard to refuse when she's ready to go. I know I'm being used. That's okay, 'cause I like the abuse. I know playing with me, it's not so hard, 'cause I got no self-esteem. Basically what the guy is talking about is he's got a girlfriend that's a slut, and he's such a fool that he's willing to be a slut to her as well. That she doesn't respect him at all, and she's using him for sex, and he's okay with it. And he doesn't realize how this is going to affect him later, or how it's affecting him now that he's basically lost any amount of reputation, the ill repute end of things. And people would say, well, you're kind of doing the same thing with edging. No, I'm not. I'm not going out screwing people's lives up with edging. Being a slut is quite a bit more destructive, because you're basically having sex with strangers that you know nothing about, and you don't know to what extent you're screwing up their lives. You're just hoping that they're taking care of it before you ever get involved with them, but you don't really realize how you're still reinforcing that. I don't know anything about sluts, so it makes it pretty easy, but if I was talking about an edger this way, and kind of dishing it out to them, I guess it's not clearing a speck. It's that we both have motes in our eyes, and I'm clearing out his before he can, and he's not even going to bother to clear out mine, because this is completely hypocritical. Um, that's where you have to be really careful about the hypocrisy. The other areas is that the idea that I'm self-righteous, which this is not, even though it's being taken as self-righteousness, you can go elsewhere to listen to this. I'm not forcing you. It's your imagination that I'm going around, and self-righteousness is the worst when you target a specific person. And I've probably already done it, and hopefully the Lord forgives me if I think I'm that close to the Lord. I could be doing the devil's work by just divulging all the shit, and I'm challenging in parts of the things that God laid down. You just don't do and I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to lay. That's also part of the whole thing. It's just watching what you do, and trying not to, because basically I'm navigating a minefield. I'm navigating a spiritual minefield is what I'm doing, and hoping that it don't blow up on the next. And I'm trying to pick up mines without them blowing me up, because there are people out there who do that. You've probably seen the shoes that they wear in doing that. And there was a guy, I mean, the lady that Paul McCartney was married to for a short time, who had lost her leg as a result of this. I think she was out going out and volunteering to clear mines. And it blew off her leg. And she became a big advocate. Paul McCartney thought he was getting in something good, and he didn't know how much he was biting into, because she's not crazy. He's just not capable of dealing with her, because he thought he probably thought that he was doing something really. I really don't know if I can go there, but you can draw your own conclusion. I've I've thought to myself, wouldn't it be very heroic if I married somebody who was less one leg? There, and those people look back at you and you say, you don't know how fucked up that sounds. You are trying to extract a certain amount of pride from from bestowing on somebody that you can see as having something less, whenever to a different capacity they are fucking way beyond you in masculinity and toughness and roughness and braveness and stuff. I sure hope for Paul McCartney's sake he was trying to calm the reporters down on the idea that he might have done this to benefit, to help her, because it's likely that she was helping him in an area that he wasn't able to deal with, or that she saw something in him and he felt grateful as a result, and that's the relationship they were in. But it ended. Is he still married to her? You know, I've been involved with ladies who were debilitated, but the thing I was really doing was trying just trying to you see, the thing is when you live your life, when you go through school as a handicap, you have a very high amount threshold for just being there to help. Okay, and when you're a computer consultant, it's your job to give people enough time to do what they need to do. And there was one lady, I've talked about her before, and I'm not going to go into detail, but because she's got a private life, and I don't want to deal with her problems there, or not the problems, but her capacity to have freedom there. And now that I think about it, she was probably an angel brought here on earth to give me the capacity to have a certain amount of confidence and esteem that I wouldn't have otherwise had I not met her. But how I met her was really just kind of a challenge to myself to be able to help somebody who needed to use computers. And to me, to her, I was being heroic. To me, on my end of thing, I didn't think it was heroic at all. It was just being, it was really just doing my job, okay? Because she was really so nice and very um, what's the word? Patient. I was patient, she was patient, and that made it easier to do my job. Because there are people out there that are like, damn, this thing's not working. Can you come over and fix this? And I said, excuse me, you did way too many little operations there. I can't get you out of that. And he said, what the fuck are you? And then they get beat up over what the guy can't understand, and that is that he got into a piece of software he didn't understand, accidentally hit a number of buttons, and whoever wrote the program had some sort of state problem where they didn't deal with this, and the only solution for most computers consultants and people on the help desks over the phone, turn off the computer, turn it back on, reset the state, because it got in a state that the people who wrote the program didn't expect anything but this guy who was the random monkey that found the state that they've been trying to dig up, that all the people have been calling over the phone. How do I get out of this? And you're like just trying to figure out on your end as a software developer, software engineer, you're over at the company, you're going, our Q&A team hasn't been able to find this bug. How did you get there? And the guy's like, oh no, I hit this button, and they're just like, God, what? How in the world are we going to find this bug? And it's ruining us, in the amount of time and just the capacity. The last guy that we had that was dealing with the help desk. I'm painting a picture. I'm imagining a scenario, okay? And this guy came in to do his job and thought that being a helper to people was going to be a good thing, and then got really chewed out by 100 people over this bug that we haven't been able to find, because every software firm has this problem, I guarantee you. And if they're trying to save face, I would suggest finding a way to torture them with it by coming in some form or another and slapping them just in the right way to get them to realize you don't save face against people that are paying into your, because they're going to ruin you in some other way, like in open source, by going in, being as smart as fuck, engineering the solution that's going to eliminate not only your company but all of your competitors, all the way through the entire industry. I mean, Linux did not Linus do this with Linux 2 Minix and all those other versions of X's out there that are now having to be open source because they can't compete with Linux. Even if Linux is not the best example of, my brother likes FreeBSD because it's Unix, at least. Linux is not Unix. It's Unix inspired, and people don't really know what Unix is anyhow. So I really don't know what the difference is between FreeBSD and Linux. I think it's the level of integrity that the software has. And, it's like the difference between CPM and quick and dirty DOS that eventually became MS-DOS. PC-DOS and then MS-DOS. And if you look at MS-DOS, it's got elements of various other operating systems. It looks like there were some engineers that said, hey, I really need something in here that's like Unix and VAX and all this other stuff that I had in college, but now I can't afford. I can afford a PC, and I can't afford Windows. I can write assembly and debug. That's where I learned my assembly. And read through the 386 CPU guide to know what all the operations, the opcodes, and then also know kind of what some of the interrupts did in MS-DOS. It isn't rocket science. Lots of people the rocket science are the guys that were subjected to Motorola and SPARC assembly, and those are two chips nobody deals with. Stuff my professor was my instructor was giving us something on the level of something you get at the tech school an experience of about how to do assembly on a machine that still exists, and it's sitting right behind me, an Intel based computer. But the assembly's gotten to be much more complex because I'm not dealing with a 16-bit computer back here. I'm dealing with a 64-bit computer. It's possible that there's not that many more operations in there, but there's a heck of a lot more registers and a lot more crap inside of there that I'm not even going to try to figure out. Maybe on a very minimal level, I can do a DLL. I can go in and allocate about a megabyte, a very basic 8086 virtual compute CPU, but that's as far as I can go. Let me cut this thing off because it's 20.